Tell you what, this stuff just ticks me off. I made a video the other day and I was talking about how some of my subscribers think I'm abusing Carolyn. And I went through a whole list of reasons, and I'll just cover them real quick because I've learned that in YouTube videos you never reference another video. You always talk about the specifics. So for example, washing clothes, she uses these tubs. That's supposed to be abusive. Making her cook outside, which I don't make her do anything. She does it because she wants to. I actually, when I built the tiny house, had an area set up for a kitchen, but she wanted the stove outside. Making her hang laundry, not giving her a wash machine and a dryer, and just no air conditioning. And that's the one that really aggravates me, is the no air conditioning. We have air conditioning. It's right there. Yes, it's not in the tiny house. I understand. I don't think we need it in the tiny house. If we want air conditioning, all we got to do is plug the camper in and go down there. We just haven't needed it. We've talked about in the past, before we got the camper, bringing it up here. But here's the thinking with leaving the air conditioner down in the camper. If we decide we want to can some food, or cook down there, or have a nice dinner, where we can sit at a table, we can turn on that air conditioner. She can cook, or we can. As time goes by, we're improving our situation. The camper is a nice addition. I wish it wasn't so big and so old and ugly, but we needed one right away, so we got. But the one thing that we all need to understand is Carolyn can make her own decisions. She has probably made every life-changing decision since her and I got together. I was working at a company, she was working at the same company. She was actually the first one to quit the company. I knew I was going to quit, she knew I was going to quit, but she quit first. When we decided to go traveling, that was all her decision. And then finally, when we decided to stop traveling and move here, again, all her decision. She's the one that found this property. I mean, this is what's so strange, is in our society, women want the ability to make decisions on their own. They don't want the man to tell them what to do. But when you actually let the woman make decisions that they want to make, if it doesn't fit in this perfect little bubble that they've created, then obviously the man just told them what to do. I actually had one person tell me in the comments, well, she may say that she wants to do all this stuff, but it's because she knows you want to do it. Okay, you know, you're just not going to convince some people. So when I was talking about the air conditioning, I always go back to one of the things I always go back to, I should say, is what did people do 100 years ago? They didn't have air conditioning. Even down in Florida. People will tell me, you don't live in Florida, gotta have air conditioning in Florida. Well, I know down in Texas, it's getting really hot. One of my Facebook friends just sent me a screenshot of the Weather Channel, and he's like 113, this is down in Texas. And he doesn't have air conditioning. So it can be done. And it's just not that hard to do. You drink plenty of water and you sit in front of a fan and you don't work during the heat of the day. When I fill the IBC tank and fill the buckets with water from the well, I got to go up and down the hill several times. So I make sure I do it in the morning when it's still kind of cool. Now in Missouri, like in Florida, it's very humid. Now when you're in Arizona and Utah, it's not humid at all. And there's just no breeze. You can see, look at it. The leaves are not moving. I probably am not holding the camera steady enough for you to see that. The only breeze you get is when you flap your hand at it. So you sit in front of a fan. Now we have two little fans. We used to only have one, but we just got another one. And we put them in the windows. And one's directed at me and the other one's directed right at Carolyn. And we sit in front of them. It's not like the greatest thing in the world, sitting in front of a fan. Oh, you can't do anything. All you do is sit in front of that fan. Now, let me think about this. You have an air conditioner, and all you do is sit in front of the air conditioner. Now, in that video, I was saying that I was also accused of harming the environment because I run the generator. Well, as you can hear, I'm sure, there is no generator running in the background. I only run it, man, I don't even think I've used 2 gallons of gas in that generator in the last month. I've improved the solar panels, so everything's being ran off the solar panels. I did run it a little bit this morning because it was cloudy, and we just put some meat in the freezer. It was frozen bacon, but by the time we got it home, it had thawed out a little bit, so that freezer was running a little bit more than it normally does. So I ran a little bit this morning because it was foggy. I mean, really foggy. Like when I turned on my little headlamp, it just blinded me, so I had to walk around in the dark because that wasn't going to work. I turned it on for, I don't know, maybe an hour, but I don't run it that much. So here I am harming the environment by running that generator for an hour. But I also am supposed to have air conditioning. You just can't live in these kind of temperatures without air conditioning, is what I'm being told. Although here I am standing upright talking to a camera, still alive. And we've been in this extreme heat, excessive heat warning, whatever it is, for 3 days now, and I think we got another 2 days to go. We'll make it. The chickens are doing pretty good. They dig in the dirt, and I've got this big pool of water for them. If they want to go in there, they can. For some reason, our chickens don't go in it. I've heard that other chickens will, but they got plenty of water they can dip their beaks into. Here's the thing about the environment, the thing they keep talking about, I'm harming the environment. I probably use less carbon in a month than some people use on their air conditionings in an hour. So if you have this central air conditioner, you're running, well, I know my heater, my electric furnace I used to have 10-15 years ago, it was a 2,000 watt or 2 kilowatt heater, and it had an air conditioner, but we didn't hook it up. So let's just go with the kilowatt of heat. So it was 2 kilowatts of heat, 2,000 watts in an hour. Well, we don't use 2,000 watts in a month here, even on the solar panels. My charge controller monitors how much electric is being generated and sent to the batteries or to the house or whatever from the solar panels. It takes forever for us to use a kilowatt. Forever. I don't even know if I don't even track it anymore. It took forever to get to one. I had to reset them when I moved them, so that was a little disappointing. I wrote it down, but so you're using more electric in an hour running a 2 kilowatt furnace. We'll kind of translate that into an air conditioner to heat your big home, and I'm the pollutant because I run a generator an hour a week at most. You know, we got lawnmowers. I'm sure you use lawnmower. Oh no, I have electric lawnmower. Okay, well, I don't understand the philosophy behind you got to have air conditioning, but you also need to reduce your carbon footprint to the environment. Well, how do you do both? You can't. I know that a lot of people, and I've actually talked to a person, one of my subscribers, who honestly believed that Chicago, and I know people are going to argue with me, but I looked it up, doesn't use any coal. And when I looked it up, this was several years ago, they were still using like 80%. And so the subscriber, I sent the link to the subscriber saying, that's not true, here's the link. They were astonished. They didn't think Chicago used any coal. Yes, you're using coal. Your politicians are lying to you. They can't fix this with solar panels and windmills. People say they can. I'm a guy who uses solar panels, and I know the biggest thing you have to do to live on solar panels is reduce the amount of electric you're using. Just can't convince people of that. They want to be able to run everything they own on solar panels. Well, it's going to cost you a fortune, and they're never going to pay for themselves. The other day, Carolyn and I went to the license office. She needed to get her ID updated. And we ran a half hour, 45 minutes to town, whatever it was, with the air conditioner on. Oh, this is nice. It was very, and I didn't really pay attention to what the temperature was outside. Eventually I realized it was only 86 degrees. We had that air conditioner on. And I jumped out, and that heat just hit me so hard. I thought I was going to pass out for a minute. What it is I got used to that air conditioner. I was nice and cool, and it just smacks you in the face. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm sure everybody has felt that experience. So your immediate instinct is to say, oh, it's hot. Oh my. It's not hot. It's that you're cold, and you walked out into a warmer environment and your body couldn't adapt fast enough. Let's use this example. Fill your bathtub up with cold water, jump in it. And initially you're going to, but you can get comfortable with it relatively quickly. Same thing with heat. hear a lot of people in the comment section says, yeah, you can live without air conditioning. I did it back in the 80s. My grandma didn't have air conditioning. But I never hear anybody say, well, except for a few, like the guy down in Texas, that my Facebook friend, who says, I live without air conditioning. Now, you can do it. I would say about 80% of the summer is very tolerable, manageable. You don't sweat much. You can work most of the day. No big deal. There's 10% of the summer where it's just miserably hot, and I'm sitting here wiping off my nose because sweat keeps running down on it. I'll get back in there on the fan and I'll be fine. But here's the comment that I think aggravated me the most. Apparently, there are some prisons who do not have air conditioning. And somehow this has become an unhumane punishment. So my reply to this comment was, what did they do 100 years ago in prisons? They didn't have air conditioning then. So somebody else replied, well, things are different today. The first thing they said is, temperatures are hotter than ever before. Okay, let's hear that. So I Googled it. In the last 100 years, how much has the temperature went up? 1 degree Celsius. Or if you want to convert that to Fahrenheit, 1.7 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're telling me that prisoners have all of a sudden become abused by their captors with 1.7 degrees. So 100 years ago, it was 99 degrees, but this year it's 100.7. Can't do it. No, End of humanity. Can't do it. We're not even using logic in our arguments anymore. It's just this feeling. Oh, CNN told me. Use some critical thinking skills. Don't believe everything you hear. I mean, I get so many comments in the comment section that just doesn't even sound feasible. Oh, back when I was a kid, I could fly off buildings. Gravity wasn't as heavy back, I'm just making that up. But these are the kind of silly things I hear all the time. And you Google it and it's like, how did that make a difference? I know people are going to say, well, down in Texas, it's a lot hotter than it's ever been. We're going to hit record highs. Okay, so 2016 was the record. That's the record hottest year. And we're going to beat it like 0.5 degrees this year, they think. So this could be the hottest year on record by 0.5 degrees. I watched a video today, kind of off subject, but on subject. And they were talking about supply chains. And they were talking about how the supply chain is going to be shut down because Panama Canal isn't getting enough water because of droughts and whatever. And you remember last time how terrible it was when the supply lines were shut down because of all those shipping containers that were stuck out there at sea. So I thought back, yeah, but that was really tough. I remember that. I wanted to buy a bottle of rubbing alcohol and they didn't have my favorite brand, so I had to get the off brand. When I asked where the regular brand was, oh, we haven't gotten that in weeks. Oh, but you still have alcohol. It's still the 90-something% that I like to get. Can I buy that? Oh, yeah, you can buy that. You got plenty of that. It's fear. People are fear-mongering you. And people buy into it. Oh, it's the hottest summer on the planet by 0.5 degrees. I understand people's concern about the environment warming up, but it's getting out of hand. The other thing I want to talk about real quick is 100 years ago, what kind of measuring equipment they have for temperature. They really had a thermometer, a mercury thermometer, and they would eyeball it. Yeah, that's about 98.1 degrees. Now they have computers that can pinpoint it down to the microbe degree. And the way I know this, I mean, if you think about it, back in the 50s, the 40s and 50s, when they measured car components, you got to think that back in the old days, cars used more oil, and that's because the cylinders didn't always match up correctly to the pistons. And so you had a little bit of gap in there where oil could come up and get burned off. But the way they measured all that was with calipers. Manual thing, and they would look at it, yeah, that looks like, and even before that, before they had the dial indicator, it was just kind of a clamp. And if it slid on there, it was good. If it didn't, well, now they use something called a coordinate measuring machine. I'm a qualified operator of a coordinate measuring machine. Operated one most of my life. This thing has a computer attached to it. It's a big granite plate with a arch that goes across the plate in two different directions and then up and down. And it has what's a ruby stylus on it. And you take that ruby stylus and you touch your components. and it goes beep, 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 and it can measure down to the millionths of an inch. Now remember, we were eyeballing it 60, 70 years ago. Now we're getting down to the millionths of an inch. A strand of hair, an average strand of hair, is 3/1000ths of an inch. A caliper can pick that up. 3/1000ths. Now we're talking about a millionths. How small is that? So if equipment is better nowadays than it was in 100 years ago, how do they know what the actual temperature was 100 years ago? They're measuring it very accurately today, but 100 years ago they were, that mercury looks like it's right on 98 point whatever. So if you'll click this up next box, take you to a video where I was talking about Carolyn being abused. So if I can inspire you to stop buying all the fear so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.